إنه من سليمان وإنه بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا بكم. We are group 3 and the topic given to our group is Jabir Ibn Hayyan. My name is Nur Sajidah binti Saiful Bahari 1182012. Today, all of us will discuss about Jabir Ibn Hayyan. Before going deeper to our discussion today, let's look at learning objectives to get a big picture. The first one is the fire in the Holy Quran. The second one is life and career. And the third one is Jabir on chemistry. Fire in the Quran. According to the corpusquran.com, fire in the Quran is described with different terms such as Jahannam, Lava, Jahim, which all of these blazing fire. Then Lahab means flame, Samum means scorching fire, Hutamah means crushing fire, Shihab means flaming fire, Sa'ir means blazing fire also, and Hariq, burning fire, and the last one is Lawaha, scorching fire. These terms that refer to the fire describe its condition, characteristics, and the gates or level of hellfire. Okay, what is fire? Scientifically, fire is an element produced by combustion between oxygen and fuels, and the fuels of the hellfire is among the disbelievers and the stones. In aspect of noun, fire means burning feelings, trigger of gun, and discharge of firearm. From perspective of verb, means to become angry, filled with excitement, to apply fire, to detonate, to discharge firearm. Then, similar words describing fire in the Quran depicts the highest level of Quran's literature and language. Actually, in the Quran, in the Holy Quran, fire does not specially refer to the ordinary fire, yet some of them are describing the hellfire. According to a research, there are some scholars that have three different perspectives of how hellfire have been mentioned in the Quran compared to the heaven. So, the first scholar said 92 significant passages about hellfire compared to 62 about heaven. The second one said there are 400 verses about hellfire compared to 322 verses. And the last scholar said the paradise occupies significantly more space in the Quran. And actually, the gates of hell are going downward, means stairs downward, different to the gates of heaven. So, the comparison between ordinary fire versus hell fire. The fire in the world is extremely cold compared to the fire of hell. Means even we feel that the fire is hot, but actually, compared to the heaven, it is extremely cold. Why? Because from Abu Hurairah, Prophet Muhammad SAW said, the ordinary fire is one of the 70 portions of the hellfire. Means the ratio of the ordinary fire to the hellfire is 1 to 60-90. And the color of the fire is determined by the physical factor, which is the temperature, and the chemical factor, types of fuels. Let's see. Jahannam was heated every 1,000 years frequently until it turned from red, white to deadly pitch black. Means it is very and extremely hot compared to the fire of the world. Okay, but there are some cases that make fire become cold. Despite the fact that fire is hot, the order of Allah to the fire makes them cool towards the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi in Al-Haqqah verse 69. And actually the hellfire is already created and specially created for disbelievers, including jinn and human. Okay, the levels of hellfire are described in the Quran. The first one is Jahannam, means blazing fire, which a bed to rest place as it will never experience daylight and moisture. And the second level is Sa'ir, means blazing fire. The flames of the fire will be ignited intensely once subside. The third level is Hutamah, means crushing fire. Why crushing fire? Because the fire will crush the bone. The bone fragments will be smashed, heart and other internal organs will be burned. The fourth hellfire is lava, means blazing, crushing, ragging, churning fire. And the fire will churn their body parts one by one, internally and externally. Then proceed to the fifth hellfire is Saqar, means extreme heat. Saqara in Arabic means to stamp an animal, usually to the farm animal, by extreme heat to make identification easy. The scorching fire, which does not spare anything, leaves nothing behind, shakes them violently. The sixth hellfire is Jahim, which means blazing fire, where the dwellers will be seized and shackled, then roasted in Jahim. And the last one is Hawiyah, which is the lowermost, where disbelievers live, means pit and abyss. In Al-Qari'ah, verse 11 describes Al-Hawiyah as Narun Hamiyah, which means blazing fire. Okay, that's all from Sajida. Thank you.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Nur Aslina binti Halidi. Okay. Next we will move on to specific verses with translation and mufassir's interpretations. Okay. The first verses. Okay. The Quran uses various terms and phrases, especially anar, that refer to the fire or hell or punishment in afterlife. The first verse from Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 24, which bring the meaning of but if you do not and you will never be able to, then fear the fire whose fuel is men and stones prepared for the disbelievers. Okay, the Mufassir interpretation, and if you do not and you will never be able to, means this you can never do, and if you try you will never succeed. If you are bent on not believing, for you should fear hell, whose fuel is men, the unbelievers, and stones of sulfur prepared and preordained for disbelievers. From Tafsir Tanwir Al-Mikbas min Tafsir Ibn Abbas. Next. Okay. The second verse from Surah Al-Ankabut, which bring the meaning, and the answer of Abraham's people was not but that they said, kill him or burn him, but Allah saved him from the fire. Indeed, in that are signs for a people who believe. Okay, Mufassir interpret, God exalted be he says with regard to the tale of Abraham, peace be upon him, but the only answer of his people was that they said, slay him or burn him. Then God delivered him from the fire into which they threw him by making it cool and harmless for him. Okay. Surely in that, namely in that deliverance of him from it, there are signs, namely the fact that it did not affect him, despite its greatness, and the fact that it was extinguished, and that within a brief period meadows sprang up in its place. For a people who believe, a people who affirm the truth of God's oneness and his power. Next. The third verse, from Surah Ghafir that bring the meaning. Thus was the word of the Lord concerning those who disbelieve fulfilled, that they are owners of the fire. Mufassir interprets, thus was the word of the Lord to punish concerning those who disbelieve in the messengers fulfilled, that they are owners of the fire, that they are the inhabitants of the fire in the hereafter. Next. The fourth verse. The fourth verse from Surah Al-Ahqaf. And on the day when those who disbelieve are exposed to the fire, they will be asked, is not this real? They will say, yeah, by our Lord. He will say, then taste the doom for that you disbelieve. On Mufassir interpret, on the day when those who disbelieve are exposed to the fire, when they are being chastised in it, it will be said to them, is not this chastisement the truth? They will say, yes, by our Lord. He will say, then taste the chastisement that's for what you used to disbelieve in. From Tafsir Tanwir Al-Mikbas min Tafsir Ibnu Abbas. Next. The last verse from Surah Ar-Rahman means, and the jinn did he create of smokeless fire. Mufassir interprets, and the jinn, or the father of the jinn and satans, did he create of smokeless fire. From Tafsir Tanwir al-Mikbas min Tafsir Ibn Abbas. Next. Okay, next we will move to general discussion. Okay, generally, the interpretations presented a high degree of agreement that scorching fire or hell is for those who disbelieve to suffer in hell. It brings the meaning of those who disbelieve will become the inhabitants of the fire in the hereafter. Okay. Like any other element like air, water, and many more, fire performs a duty under Allah's command. From Tafsir Al-Jalalain for the verse 69 on Surah Al-Anbiya, the interpreter remarks, we said, O fire, be coolness and safety for Abraham. And so it only consumed the bones with which he had been tied. Its heat departed, but its luminosity remained. Okay. The Quran also focuses indirectly on the concept of fuel, which is affected from the progress in science and technology. From Surah 36, verse 18. So, from the from the from the Prophet Abraham's tale, human has progressed and discovered a fire-resistant substance, which is important for certain circumstances. As there is a physical substance that prevents the effect of fire, there must be an immaterial substance which will prevent hellfire from harming us. People can make a similar armor against hellfire by coating themselves with faith in Allah. Okay. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Amira Hanim binti Naruddin. Next, we move on to the life and career of the Jabir ibn Hayyan. So the real name of Jabir ibn Hayyan is Abu Musa Jabir ibn Hayyan al-Azdi. Sometimes he is called as Al-Harrani and Al-Sufi. He of Arab chemistry and one of the founders of modern pharmacy. And Jabir ibn Hayyan was known to the Europeans as Gibber. Jabir ibn Hayyan, born in the city of Tus, Iran, in the year 721, Anno, and he died in Kufa, Iraq, during 815 Anno Domini. So he died during 94 years old. His father's name is Hayyan al-Azdi. Next. His father, Hayyan al-Azdi. So basically, this is the preview of the life of Jabir ibn Hayyan. His father, Hayyan al-Azdi, was a pharmacist from the Arabian Azdi tribe in Yemen who resided in the city of Kufa in Iraq during the rule of the Umayyads. Then Hayyan supported the Abbasid revolt against the Umayyads and moved to Iran where Jabir was born. And then Jabir's family fled to Yemen after Hayyan was caught and executed by the Umayyads. Jabir studied in Yemen under the tutelage of the scholar Harbi al-Himyari. Then Jabir ibn Hayyan returned back to Kufa after the Abbasid dynasty took over. Student of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq. So from there he learned chemistry, alchemy, pharmacy, philosophy, astronomy and medicine. And then Jabir ibn Hayyan became the court alchemist during the reign of Caliph Harun al-Rashid and was a physician working for his Grand Minister, the Barmakids. Next. So basically the career of the Jabir ibn Hayyan is Jabir ibn Hayyan is popularly known as the father of chemistry, but he was also a pharmacist, physician, philosopher, and engineer. Jabir ibn Hayyan also was credited for the discovery of 19 different substances, which we call element in modern chemistry. And lastly, he was the first person to introduce the experimental method in chemistry. Next.
My name is Nur Shazwani binti Muhammad Nawi. Okay, next for the contributions, nearly 3,000 treatises and articles are credited to Jabir ibn Hayyan, and the scope of Jabir corpus is very vast, which is consists of cosmology, medicine, metaphysics, biology, chemical technology, and geometry. His words seem to have deliberately written in highly esoteric code, so it had been difficult for the modern reader to discern which aspect of Jabir words are to be read as ambiguous symbols and what is to be taken literally. Next. For the Jabarian corpus, this is a few examples of the Jabarian corpus, which is first the 112 books. This group include the Arabic version of the Emerald Tablet. In the Middle Age, it was translated into Latin and widely diffused among European alchemists. Second, the Books of the Balance. It comprises of 144 treatises explaining the theory of the balance. This group includes his most famous, which is the theory of the balance in nature. Third, the Book of the 70. It is a systematic presentation of Jabarian alchemy. This group includes the Kitab al-Zuhra and the Kitab al-Ajar. Fourth, the Book of Mercy. This is probably the oldest word of the Jabarian corpus. Next. Okay, for the criticism, there is Jabir problem, which is a question of whether Jabir should be considered as the author of the large corpus of mainly alchemical words attributed to him. Paul Coase has presented several arguments that are: first, the corpus seems too vast to have been written by a single author, which is Jabir. Second, the cosmology presented is based on Greek philosophy, which is translated into Arabic only after the 2nd or 8th century. But then, Fuad Sezgin has told that traditional account of Jabir and his work is true by stating his opposition. First, although corpus is extensive, authorship of large number of books is not unheard of in the medieval Muslim world. Besides, Jabir is also mentioned in some Shi'i works. Second, translation of Greek philosophy were already common before the time of Al-Ma'mun. The translation used in the Jabir corpus seem to be, at least in part, more archaic than those commissioned later on, which would make an early dating of the corpus feasible. Next.
Okay, next, we move on to the historical development of Arabic alchemy. So the word derived from the Arabic word, which is kimia or kimia, and may ultimately derive from the ancient Egyptian word chemi, which means black. So in the 7th century, the Arabs started a process of territorial expansion that quickly brought them empire and influence ranging from India to Andalusia. Fruitful contacts with ancient cultural traditions were a natural consequence of this territorial expansion, and Arabic culture proved ready to absorb and reinterpret mathematical and theoretical innovations of previous civilization. And then the Arabs arrived in Egypt to find a substantial alchemical tradition, which is the first translation of the alchemical treatise from Greek and Coptic sources into Arabic were reportedly commissioned by Khalid ibn Yazid, who died around the beginning of the 8th century. By the second part of that century, Arabic knowledge of alchemy was already far enough advanced to produce a corpus Jabirianum, which is an impressive of alchemical works attributed to Jabir ibn Hayyan. So the corpus, together with the alchemical works of Arazi, marks the creative peak of Arabic alchemy. Next. After that, as typical in the chain of transmission of ancient knowledge, the origins of alchemy are steeped in legend, and the links of this chain are either mythical or real authorities in the fields of ancient science and philosophy. The doctrines on which Arabic alchemy from the multicultural milieu of Hellenistic Egypt and included a mixture of local, which are Hebrew, Christian, Gnostic, and ancient Greek, Indian, and Mesopotamian influences. Lastly, the presence of the Arabic definite article in the alchemy is a clear indication of the Arabic roots of the word. Some of the hypotheses are the origin of the word back to the Egypt word Kemet or Kemet, which indicated the color black. By extension, the land of Egypt known as the Black Land. Second hypothesis links that Kimia to a Syriac transliteration of the Greek word kumia or kimia, meaning the art of melting metals and of producing alloys. And lastly, the word alchemia derived from the Hebrew kimia, which means divine science. Next. Okay, so Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq is the teacher of the Jabir ibn Hayyan. So this is the biography of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq. His full name is Imam Abu Abdullah Ja'far al-Sadiq bin Muhammad al-Baqir bin Ali Zainal Abidin ibnu al-Husain ibnu Ali ibnu Abi Talib radhiyallahu anhum. He was born on the 17th of Rabiul Awal, 83 after Hijrah, which is 702 Anno Domini in Medina, and he was died on 25th Shawwal, 148 after Hijrah, which is 795 Anno Domini in Medina at the age of 60. His father's name is Muhammad al-Baqir, which is the fifth Imam in the Imamate, and then his mother's name is Farwa. So the relation of Ja'far al-Sadiq, which another is, he is a great grandson of the fourth Caliph, which is Ali on his father's side, and then he descended from the first Caliph, which is Abu Bakr on his mother's. Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq was the sixth in the succession of the 12 apostolic imams. His nickname was Abu Abdullah, and his famous titles were As-Sadiq, Al-Fadil, and At-Tahir, but he is popularly known as Al-Sadiq. And next, his mother was the daughter of Al-Qasim ibn Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr. Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq was brought up by his grandfather, Imam Zainul Abidin, in Medina for 12 years and then remained under the sacred patronage of his father, Baqi, for a period of 19 years. Next. So, after the death of his holy father in 114 after Hijrah, he succeeded him as the sixth Imam, and thus the sacred trust of Islamic mission and spiritual guidance was relayed down to his custody right from the Holy Prophet through the succession of the preceding Imams. The period of his imamate coincided with the revolutionary and eventful era of Islamic history, which saw the downfall of the Umayyad Empire and the rise of the Abbasid Caliphate. The internal wars and political upheavals were bringing about the speedy reshufflement in the government. It was due to the political strife between the two groups, which is the Umayyads and the Abbasids. For power, the Imam was left alone, undisturbed, to carry out his devotional duties and peacefully carry on his mission to propagate Islam and spreading the teachings of the Holy Prophet. In the last days of Umayyad rule, their empire was tottering and was on the verge of collapse, and the most chaotic and demoralized state of affairs prevailed throughout the Islamic State. The Abbasids exploited such an opportunity and availing themselves of this political instability, assumed the title of Avengers of Banu Hashim. On 25th Shawwal of 148 after Hijrah, the governor of Medina was, by the order of Al-Mansur, got the Imam martyred through poison, which is Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq is martyred through poison. The funeral prayer was conducted by his son Imam Musa al-Kazim, which is the seventh Imam, and his body was laid to rest in the cemetery of Jannatul al-Baiki. Next.
My name is Hani Sufana Jiha binti Ismail. Okay, next we will proceed to the Jabir on chemistry. We all know that Jabir is a polymath that have a specialty in astronomy, chemistry and pharmacies and many more. But Jabir is well known as the father of Arabic chemistry and one of the founders of modern pharmacy. This is because there are many of his contributions toward chemistry and that his theories, method and experiments are still being used in modern chemistry. His contribution of fundamental importance to chemistry include perfection of scientific techniques such as crystallization, distillation, calcination, sublimation, evaporation and development of several instruments. So we all know that all of this technique is still used in our modern chemistry right now. Here, next is Corpus Jabirian. Corpus Jabirian is a collection of writing that includes many chapters and titles. This Corpus Jabirian is the most famous work of Jabir in chemistry. This writing includes approximately over 103,000 titles, but there are people that say that the title is over 500. It depends on how it is being calculated. The scope of the corpus is vast and includes cosmology, music, medicine, magic, biology, chemical technology, geometry, grammar, metaphysics, logic, artificial generation of living beings, along with astrological prediction and symbolic imami myths. It is the most extensive Arabic collection of works on alchemy. There are two theories that are especially influential in modern chemistry, which are theory of the balance and mercury sulfur theory. Okay, let's proceed to the theory of balance. So, theory of balance is how it's determining the quantity of the four nature, which are hot, cold, wet, and dry, in a substance by means of its name. Aristotle had previously theorized that each of the four basic elements, which are fire, air, water, and earth, had different qualities. And Jabir concluded that fire is hot, air is cold, water is wet, and earth is dry. So, from this theory, it's apply this theory toward metal, and in metal it was believed two of these qualities were interior and two is exterior. It means that in metal all of this nature is included. For example, lead was cold and dry, whereas gold was hot and moist. Jabir theorized that by rearranging the qualities of a metal, a different metal could be produced. And Jabrian texts also argue that all things contain a hidden and manifest. Next, let's proceed to metal-sulfur theory. So from theory of balance, this metal-sulfur theory is produced. This theory is a long-lived theory that the known metal is composed of sulfur and mercury. Metal is differ from one another only because of the difference of their accidental qualities. Why it's called accidental? This is because this difference is due to the difference of their sulfur. It means that this metal have a mercury in their metal and is coagulate or precipitate of the sulfur. And the sulfur is different due to variation in the soil and their position with respect to the heat of the sun. The works give detailed description for alloying, purifying and testing the metals, in which considerable use is made of fractional distillation in order to isolate the different nature. This is how Jabir have the technique in order to prove that metal have sulfur and mercury. Jabir can describe the description for alloying, purifying and testing the metal. Uh, this is how introduction of experimental methodology into chemistry and the invention of several chemical processes used in modern chemistry, such as crystallization, calcination, sublimation, and evaporation. The synthesis of acid, for example, hydrochloric acid from heating of salt, and sulfuric acid, nitric acid from heating the saltpeter salt, and sulfuric acid, acetic from orange, and tartaric acid from wheat wine, and distillation using his greatest invention, the alembic. This picture is the alembic. Next is classification of element. Jabir most known words is this thing because it is the origin of the modern classification of element into metal and non-metal. So basically, from what he theorized about balance and about mercury sulfur theory, he can classify the element. He proposed three categories of metals, which are spirit or gases, which evaporate on heating like arsenic, camphor, mercury, sulfur, salt, ammoniac, and ammonium chloride. Metals like gold, silver, lead, tin, copper, and iron. Lastly, non-malleable substance that can be converted into powders such as stone. This nomenclature could represent the beginning of more recent classification of elements. And lastly is the manufacturing process. There are many manufacturing processes that are produced from contribution of Jabir, which are making steel and other metals, preventing rust, dyeing, waterproofing clothes, tanning leather, the chemical analysis of pigment and other substance, use of manganese dioxide in glass making to counteract the green tint produced by iron, and develop aqua regia, which is superacid to dissolve gold. Aqua regia is this yellowish substance that are formed from hydrochloric acid and nitric acid. It is still used in modern chemistry to dissolve many metals. Thank you. That's all from us.